So, hello and welcome to Intuitive Connection. I'm your host, intuitive counselor and spiritual guide Victoria Shaw. And I was cooking my dinner, about to start cooking my dinner. And when this thought came into my mind of something that I really wanted to share with all of you. So, I put the dinner aside, and here I am in front of the microphone and camera. And I was thinking, so last night I was doing a session. I was doing a session actually with a longtime client who I hadn't heard from in a real long time. And it was a client where she had a family member that I had also known really, really well that crossed over many years ago and have been in touch with. In the spirit realm periodically, both actually when doing sessions with this client, but sometimes also on my very own time as well. And so in the course of the session, right away, her loved one came up and, it felt very clear. It felt very natural. But I had that thought, oh my gosh, like, how do I know? Like, this is just so convenient, right? As soon as we start talking, there they are, right? How do I know this is even real? And I'm not just making this up. Now, look, friends, I've been doing this now, right, for how many years? And, right, but I still sometimes and I've had a lot of experiences and a lot of validation that it is in fact real, but yet sometimes I still question myself, right? Sometimes I still don't know, is it my intuition, am I making it up, is it for real? Right now we have a whole field, right, with mediumship at least, and I think with psychics as well, right? Many psychics have been tested in the lab. Suzanne Wilson, who was a guest on our show, I think last year already, last March, her episode, March of last, because I don't know when you're listening to this, March of 2025, she was a guest on our show, and her work has been scientifically validated. And many evidential mediums, right? Their job is to provide specific information that validates the fact that what they're getting is real, right? So maybe I get a name or how that person died or other verifiable facts, right? So there are ways in which we get some sort of satisfaction that this stuff is for real, right? But on a day-to-day basis, in an individual reading, especially for me, for someone like this, like, I couldn't be an evidential medium in this case for this client because I knew too much, right? Um, Although, there are ways, but what I'm saying is there are a lot of times, right, where I think people shut themselves down, right? Because they don't have that evidence with their mind, right? Maybe they're not in a scientific lab being studied, right? Maybe they're not having a mediumship experience with someone they've never talked to where they're getting verifiable information, right? And so we shut it down. We shut it down. And so there's so much beautiful, intuitive, and spiritual guidance coming to us all the time. But because our bar for believing it is so high, right, that we just say, oh no, it's not that, oh no, it's not that, oh no, it's not that, and we let it go. And I think that that's really a shame. We try to know things, in a way we try to know for sure, right? Well, we can never know that way. And so that's what I wanted to talk about today. So, there are tells for me. There are ways in which I can discern. I am always, I don't know if skeptical is the right word, but it's a good one. Like, I'm always paying attention. I'm always asking that question, right? Because I want to have as much integrity as possible. And I want to, not be, telling you what I think or when I'm fantasizing. Like, I want to be getting it, I want to be getting the gold for my clients. Like, that's what I want to do. And of course, if I am doing a mediumship reading, which for me usually comes in, the whole package of intuitive coaching session, right? Or an intuitive reading. Like, to me, it's all kind of the same. But if I'm doing a mediumship reading, of course, I don't want to just be making this up, right? I want to know that I'm actually talking to the loved one. And a lot of times I get, information that's verifiable. a lot of times for me, the information I get is around their personality. So I can get a sense of like their personality. And once they start talking and once they say things, the client is like, that really sounds like them. Right. And then other times too, I have received verifiable information. My dad gave me information about bank accounts and things that turned out to be verifiable and true. I once had a client where her beloved told her that there was, some paperwork that she had missed or some of his belongings or something that she had missed, in the guest room under the bed. And, I don't know if it was exactly that, but something like that. And sure enough, she called me, a week later and said, guess what I found? Okay. So it does happen. Right. But in a lot of moments, right, we're just like, could it have been? Might it be my guidance, my spirit guides, my loved one? And 9 out of 10 times, friends, if it makes you feel good, if it's inspiring, if it's surprising, if it's not grandiose, or crazy, I just say, yeah, go with it. Right. The other night I'm going to change positions. The other night, I was watching a basketball game, and my team that I've been a huge fan of since I was a little child, the Detroit Pistons, are playing really, really well again. And so I've been watching them like kind of fanatically. But one of the things that's happening for me in this experience is the person that I used to watch these games with, for as long as I've been watching these games was my dad. And so I'm really feeling his loss more now because I can't call him and say, did you see that play? What do you think about this guy? What do you think about that? And that's making my heart a little sad. Right. And so the other night I was sitting down and I really felt my dad's presence there, kind of watching the game with me. And I thought, like, am I making this up? Right? Am I just imagining that my dad's energy is sitting down and giving me that comfort? Right. But then I thought about it. And what I thought was, who cares? Who cares? Like, I feel this warmth. I feel this love. I feel this connection, even if I'm making it up. Does it matter? Does it make a difference? Right. Our loved ones are with us. And sometimes when we're in a lot of grief, right, it's hard to know, it's hard to tell. But if you feel them, if you believe it's them and it makes you feel good, go with that. Go with that. And in the course of that interaction, my dad said things to me that were characteristic of him and really funny, but I don't think those were things that I would have come up with myself. Right. They were just, I don't know if they would have been testable in a lab, like that he said it versus I said it. But for me, I was like, yeah, that did not come from my head. Right. And I'm always tuning into that. Last night with my client, her loved one said something that was just absolutely stunning and beautiful. And I'm going to see if I can share. I'm getting that I can. Because this person sometimes doubts, the presence of this loved one around them. And so they were, and the loved one said, hey, if you ever think it's me, if you ever like feel me around you and you think it's me, and it makes you feel good, or I say something that's helpful in this situation, or something comes through that you feel is helpful in this situation, and you think it came from me, the loved one was like, give me credit for that. Don't like question yourself. Just give me credit for my awesomeness, which was exactly the kind of thing that he would say now that I am familiar with him in spirit, and definitely not the kind of thing that I would make up. Right. But again, there's a different kind of knowing, right? When we're dealing with our intuition, it's a felt sense, it's a leap of faith, it's a trust. And if it makes you feel good, if it's inspiring, if it resonates, go with it, go with it, go with it, go with it, because you have that within you, that deep knowing. And even if you don't know for sure, the guides say, even if you don't know this for sure, right? Trust yourself, trust it. And then you can keep asking questions. You can be present with it. Don't necessarily just shut it down. So when this loved one came in the session last night, and I felt them right away, and then I questioned myself a little bit, there was a pretty powerful sign, because at that very moment when I was questioning, am I making this up? Like, this is just too easy. A whale breached in the water, and they've been breaching all week, but nonetheless, I counted that as a sign, right? And he was joking with me and being like, look what I made the whale do. Look, I'll do it again, and I'll do it again, and I'll do it again, right? And I believe there's always perfect synchronicity, as you all know. And I believe in these signs and I go with them. I go with them, right? And 9 out of 10 times, right? If I think it's my intuition, right? If I think it's a spirit, it usually is. And again, I know I said it before, but I'm going to say it again. If it makes you feel good, right? And it's not hurting anything else, like go with it, right? As I sat on the couch and watched the basketball game with my spirit dad, if I'm making this up, who cares? Right. I got the experience of having him right near me, right. And feeling that connection that I was missing. And there can't ever be anything wrong with that. Okay. And our loved ones really do want to be there and do this for us. And it's really a matter of us letting them in. Should you ever be cautious about your intuition? Well, sure. If something doesn't feel right, first and foremost, please question it. Please question it. If you go to a medium and they're saying something that your loved one said and it doesn't feel right in your being, it doesn't feel like them, it's making you uncomfortable, right? Have some skepticism, right? Tune in, right? There are times when I have a client and I will get something intuitively from their guides, and I'm pretty sure that what I'm getting is correct because, it's a felt sense. Um, and they're not having it. They're not interested. And sometimes that's just because we're not ready to hear it or my words aren't landing right. And that's okay. I never force the issue. I trust my clients to know, what they're ready to know. And I also allow that I'm not going to get it 100% right. Right. And if anyone tells you that they're 100% and they're a psychic or a medium or an anything, please don't walk out the door, run, slam it behind you because it's just not true, right? We're all human beings, right? We're spiritual beings having a human experience, and this human lens is by its nature. There's an inner perfection that we are all expressing, but we flicker in and out of alignment with our highest and truest selves. And it's just, only ego would say, I'm never wrong. Right. So don't go with that. But we may have a high level of accuracy. And again, I usually can feel in and know like when it feels really clear, really strong versus like, I think I'm getting it. It's in the range, but I want to like tune in more. I want to pay attention more. I want to see how it lands with you. Right. But a lot of times, right? And even if you're in resistance because someone said something to you and you didn't like it, that's okay too, my friend. You got lots of time. I always say if you're meant to get a message, right? And it doesn't land when it comes out of these lips, you're going to ask again and it's going to keep coming. It's not going to go away because everything that comes out of these lips, right? And everything that comes from the spirit world, right, is because of your complete and total free will. It's always responding to something you're asking for on some level. That's how it works. That's how the law of attraction works. You're having a question or a longing or a desire, and that is attracting in the guidance that you seek, even if you're not ready to hear it. Okay. But 9 out of 10 times, right? If it doesn't feel right, it's probably not. It's probably not. And so you have to trust yourself, right? And I've had people go to mediums or psychics that get some of it really, really right. And then they say something, and the client's like, that felt really, really wrong. But the person, they knew his name, they knew his age. And then I had a guest like this on the show, a medium. I think it was Bo Maxwell, but anyway, I don't remember, but it was a great story. And she was saying she went to a medium and the medium said, this, and this, and it was all very accurate. And then the medium said, you have an estranged relationship with your mother and your grandma wants you to go fix that. And she's like, nope. Like that doesn't feel right. That I think is what the medium thinks I should do. Right. So we always want to vet that with our experience, right? Okay. Just because someone gets some of it right doesn't mean it's all right. As I say at the beginning of every session, right? You always want to see what resonates with you, right? And then let the rest go. I say that to my clients before their first session. Okay. And you can do that internally too. So if it doesn't quite feel right, be curious, right? Ask again, wait, take a step back, be present, right? You don't have to know all the answers at once, right? But again, if it feels right, if it feels aligned, if it's you into a place that is leading you towards a better life, I would say go for it. Go for it, right? Follow it, trust it, right? And again, if your intuition is telling you to do something that seems, obscene or strange or whatever, like, hey, go jump off this cliff, I'd say don't do that. Don't do that. Just don't do that. Promise me you won't. Okay. Because again, your guides always have your best interest at heart, and they will never be telling you anything, that would do you harm. Okay. And if it's something that you're not sure about, right? You don't have to leap right away, right? Listen, get comfortable with it, follow it, right? And little by little. Sometimes too, we don't trust or hear our intuition because we kind of know that the direction it's pushing us in is one that we're not comfortable with, right? Like maybe it's leaving a relationship or a job or moving or responding in a way to someone that you're not really comfortable with, setting a boundary or something that isn't natural to you. And you're like, I don't want to do that, right? Have grace with yourself. Right. Or maybe you're hearing something that other people in your world are not going to see it the same way. And that feels really scary to you, right? If you're having those kinds of things, well, you don't have to share, you don't have to act right away, but you can make the space to listen and to be curious. Curiosity is a really good energy with respect to your intuition because you can just be curious. I wonder if, right? And you can just leave it at that. And that will keep it alive and keep it developing and keep that conversation open until you get to a place where right? Where it just feels like, okay, this is it. And, I've shared this a lot of times too. The knowing that we have with our intuition is very different, right? Than the knowing that we have in the 3D world, right? Even in the scientific lab. I could imagine knowing something in my bones as a medium or a psychic, right? And then having somebody say that's not true. That's not how he died. And I would be like, okay, but this is what I'm getting. And I'm really, really sure. And I would trust myself. I would trust myself. I mean, again, I never argue with the client or the sitter, or the autopsy report or whatever. But, there are different ways of knowing in the 3D world than there is knowing in our being. And honestly, when I really know that I know that I know, I trust what I know. But even then I'll have some skepticism, right? I'll have some skepticism. And it's not that egoic knowing where I have to prove that I'm right, right? It's nothing to do with that. It's just, there's a sense in which intuitively that you just know it just feels right. Right. And so many of us have had experiences where we knew, and people in the outside world said, no, 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 that's not true. No, I'm having a great day. There's nothing wrong, sweetheart. You're picking up on something that doesn't exist. And, inside you are right. Or, we get an off vibe about someone or something, and people say, no, that's fine. And we were right. Right. But early on, many of us as children have been taught to distrust that inner knowing, and defer instead to outer authority. Right. And so that can kind of get us questioning. Right. And then we also want this definitive proof, right? All the time, the scientific lab, right, the evidential medium, and again, all of those things are really important. And again, when I was with my client last night, I was tuning in and I'm like, okay, let me be a little curious here if I'm not sure. Like, is there a little bit more information? Is what's coming through seem helpful to my client right now that I should continue on this path, right? Like, I'm present, I'm tuning in, I'm being skeptical, I'm making sure that everything feels like it's in the flow. But I'm never going to know for sure the way that I might know for sure that this is a pen, right? Um, right? Because our intuitive knowing just isn't like that. It doesn't work that way. It's always that leap of faith. So the only time I would say that we can trust it and think that we know it, and our intuition, quote unquote, can lead us astray is when it's entangled with our ego, right? When we feel like we need to be right, or when we so want a particular outcome that we're like so sure that that's going to be the thing, right? My guide said this because I know it has to be so. Okay. I see that sometimes, right? Or it's grandiosity, grandiosity feels good. Like you're the most amazing person in the world and you're definitely going to get the job and the boy and which is true though. Like I want you guys to believe in yourselves, right? But sometimes that kind of fear-based pushing can, masquerade as our intuition. Okay. And the guides are reminding me too, like the medium that had a very strong idea about what this person should do with respect to the relationship with her mother, right? Because she was probably triggered by this idea of how can someone not have a loving, I'm sure they had a loving relationship, but a connected relationship with their mom. Like, we got to fix that, right? So sometimes those things can get in the way, right? And we can mistake them for our intuition, right? Sometimes that happens. And the trick too is to be as present as possible, to sort of know your inner landscape, know the things that trigger you. Recognize too, if you have a very strong investment in something going a certain way, it's sometimes nice to get a second opinion or look for multiple signs or multiple guidance for taking like baby steps rather than leaps. But a lot of times our intuition doesn't work like that. A lot of times our intuition is telling us something that's new or surprising or things that we wouldn't have thought of without it. Right. And in those moments, right, friends, I would say you can usually trust it. So I'm going to wrap this one up. I hope it was helpful for all of you. Sorry, I set the microphone up in the wrong way. That's why I keep moving moving around like a little shaky toy. But anyway, because I don't know why the microphone is so high today. But anywho, so I'm going to wrap this one up. But I just was thinking about that kind of experience that, even though I've been doing this for 15 years, and even though I'm reasonably sure the spirit has come to me, and that it was really him, just like I'm pretty sure that it was my dad. Also just based again on the things that both of them said were just not things that, my mind would create. Right. And there have been times, like I said, that I've had verifiable information, from my mediumship experiences, like real things that, I'm like, yeah, couldn't have made that up. Right. It happens quite a bit. Um, but I don't need that in every micro moment, and it's unreasonable to expect that. And even in a lab, even the best mediums like Laura Lynn Jackson, who's one of the evidentially, I mean, she's a super high, been proven in the lab, shown, demonstrated in the lab, we don't prove in the lab, but demonstrated in the lab to have a very high level of accuracy, right? It's still a percentage, friends, that isn't 100%, right? I don't think. I mean, I haven't met her yet, but I don't think, right? And so, and I'm going to tell you one more thing too. I believe that for me, at least, the thing that continues to increase my accuracy is self-trust, and that ability to listen, not to fill in the blanks, not to force it, not to say I know because I want to know. None of those things are self-trust. Those are all fear-based, ego-based, filling in the blanks. Not that, but a deep trust in myself, a deep listening, and knowing that when I hear something, right, that comes through that channel that feels resonant, that feels like I think this is it, that I take it seriously, that I listen, that I trust in it, right? And as I do that more and more, right, I increase the flow of my own intuitive knowing. All right, so that's it. I'm done. I'm going to go make myself some dinner. I hope this one was helpful for you. And if you like this, like it, share, subscribe, do the stuff, and follow along. I'm going to be teaching. If you're listening to this at the time it goes live and you want to learn to embrace and activate your intuition even more, come join me at Cactus Blossom Retreat, March 26th through 29th for an Awakening Your Intuition retreat, which will be a deep dive into all things intuition. And you are guaranteed to take your intuition to the next level. So if you can come join us for that, that would be phenomenal. And if not, just follow along because I do a lot of online teaching. I do a lot of traveling and just keep following the show. And remember, it's 90% intention. So as you set that intention to connect to your intuition, I promise you more and more it will flow. All right. Thank you guys all for tuning in and namaste.